Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 20th episode. Sorry for those quick technical difficulties. We are back up, though, and running, and we are here. It is our 20th episode again, and it is currently July 21st, 2025. This is our week ahead news show with me, Liam, and my friend Tommy.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for episode 20. I am very hopeful today that the quality of the content will be greater. I do have my second set of eyes on, so I can actually read what is in front of me today. So expect a good show today. Expect some well-articulated points now that I can actually see. So thank you for joining, and I'm looking forward to talking about the news today.
Tommy's got his glasses back. Good to see. Hope everyone's having a great Monday. It's a beautiful day today. A little hot, chilling out now, so make sure to like the video on YouTube as you're watching it, even if you're watching the video on demand. Share on social media. We should have our Facebook in the description below, the link for that. And you can just look us up, Philly Doodle Show, on Facebook. Share on there. That'd be great. If we can get more people on Facebook, that'd be awesome. We are now going to go over weather real quick. And today the high was 77, low of 54. A little bit of rain, but mostly cloudy. Tomorrow, no clouds, 77, 57, so we're getting a little bit of colder nights. Wednesday will be a little bit hotter but cloudy, 86, 66. Thursday will be very hot but cloudy, 91 and 73. Friday will be rainy, 86, 71. Saturday will be raining, 84, 70. Excuse me. And Sunday we'll have rain and thunderstorms, 83 to 69. Next Monday, it looks like it's going to be 87, 68, light clouds. So hopefully we'll stop getting all this rain, but that's kind of just how this summer's been. Really hot and really rainy.
So for the Yeah, so let's see how the stocks are doing today. Let's see how our friends, the shareholders are doing today. So Dow's down 19.12 points. Nasdaq was up 78.52 points. S&P 500 was up 8.81 points. So for all of you that have money in the stock market, for all of our shareholders out there, midday. It's mid.
You're right above us too, pretty mid to see, so it happens. And I was muted before, but I was kind of saying we have stocks above us, whatever underneath us. We'll be going into our funny topics, which is kind of how Trump's deflecting from all this Epstein talk. There's so much stuff going on right now, so many people trying to ask him stuff about this weird letter or narrative that was in one of his books, and all this other criticism about for files. And I guess today they released more files about MLK Jr. Martin Luther King, even though his family didn't want him to. But basically, what ended up happening is amid criticism over withholding Epstein-related files, President Trump spent a weekend posting unrelated and provocative content on social media, on X and Truth Social. He attacked his political opponents, including Senator Adam Schiff and Samantha Power. Posted a doctored content, a fake video of Obama being arrested, and a photo of Obama and others in prison uniforms, which is just crazy. Maybe he's just is getting old. This is another kind of sports related topic, is that he's threatening to block a football stadium deal for Washington Commanders unless they revert to their former name, which used to be the Redskins. Shared bizarre viral style videos, including one of a woman catching a cobra barehanded. Alright, maybe he just got lit. That's kind of crazy, but he's the president, so there needs to be stoppers before that goes out. He celebrated his second term anniversary, claiming the U.S. had gone from dead to the most respected under his leadership, which is just the most reverse thing I've ever seen. And I think a lot of this is just smoke and mirrors. He's running away, like I said, from questions about it. He's starting to get mad last week about questions and saying why people are asking about this. He's calling it a Democratic hoax, which he never called out during his campaign. It's something he campaigned for and that he was going to do. So now he's just kind of going crazy and running in circles. about just trying to release the files and the lists and the flight logs, all of it. Um, and I think he kind of knows that a lot of this stuff gets data mined. Uh, because we're seeing that right now also with Epstein. Well, I guess for Wired has reviewed a lot of the video that Pam Bondi released saying, well, this was this was his cell that whole night. And Pam Bondi was like, here's video, uncut of his cell the whole night. You see no one goes in there. But like with certain data mining and how like video works, it's all through like ones and zeros in a computer, and you can look at that metadata. It's called like metadata, and I learn a lot of that from what I do in like AutoCAD and how you design stuff on computers, even like surveyed stuff, lidar. This is all numbers, and you could find it. Just copy and paste it, and it'll convert it. Basically they're finding out that like there was 3 minutes cut from that. So one, they're lying about it not being cut, and then two, well, why are they cutting it then? I wonder what happened in them 3 minutes that could have happened. This is just my opinion, but you never know. Some guys could have walked in, said, "Hey Jeffrey, how you doing? You having a good night?" And then they just cut that, and they know that like, hey, that's kind of crazy. We can't show that. They try to tell people that like some of it was just like something that every prison camera does. Like at night, every prison camera's off for like 10 minutes, and that's just not true. And that was even separate from like this. They said it was uncut. So it's kind of scary that like they're feeding us so many lies about something that they thought and kind of like played with people's heartstrings with and their emotions with. Especially on the right, you see people mad at them. I see it all over comments on like social media where like a lot of people are just going after him for not releasing it. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. And even like some people on the right now, social media wise and influencer wise, are trying to tone it down. Maybe for other reasons, but we won't talk about that in too much detail. How do you feel about this, Tommy?
Listen, so this is all just what Trump is doing is just completely it's just illogical. It's illogical from the respect of, like why did he even offer to release this list if, he was never going to do it? Like, it's just a very weird situation to begin with. Like he, in many respects, he created this political problem for himself. It just makes me think that, it just confirms what like I already knew, that, Donald Trump, our president, is truly, truly, truly an idiot. Like he truly is an
Mm-hmm.
idiot, because you would not you would not open yourself up to such political criticism such as this, unless like you intended to actually release the list. So I just think he's stupid. Okay.
True. Yeah,
Number
it doesn't
two,
think things
now
true.
that he dug himself down this rabbit hole. Okay. Um, and now he's just looking for anything to get himself out of this rabbit hole. So, he's talking about today, very recently, he's talking about, the Washington Commanders. He wants them to revert to their old name, which was the quote unquote Redskins.
Mm-hmm.
That he's talking about Cleveland sports now. He's talking about the Cleveland Guardians. He wants them to go back to being called the quote unquote Cleveland Indians. So what he's just doing right now, he's just grasping for straws. He's posting these fake videos of Obama being arrested, talking about Adam Schiff, Samantha Powers, who is the former head of USAID, which of course the right hates. Um, and it just truly is just a sad, sad, sad spectacle. And what if I want to say, like, if I was hypothetically speaking directly to the president right now, I would say, what are you afraid of, man? What are you afraid of? Release the list. Release the list. Or if there is no list, release everything you have. Everything.
Yeah,
Okay?
but
Release it all. The
there's a
vast
lot of people
majority of
saying,
Americans.
like, why is Maxwell arrested for it then? Like, what evidence did they have to arrest her for if there's not a list and proof of certain things
Yeah,
happening? If
exactly.
if all it is, and
And
like that, what Pam Bondi's saying is CP
right.
is all I say about that. You can look up what that means. That Epstein downloaded himself. His wife shouldn't get
Yeah.
arrested for that. But like obviously we know it's deeper than that. And the truth is, and I feel like what's going to happen, we just won't know until all of these old politicians are dead. Because they're on both sides now.
That very
The
well could be
left
the
didn't
case.
release it. The right didn't release it. They're probably going to say we are going to wait out our time. So even if Trump did release it, let's say, like all those guys are old enough now that like they're just going to retire and resign. You
You
know what
know,
I mean? And it's
and we all
crazy.
know what we we all know why he's not releasing the list, right? It's because he's on the fucking list.
Yeah.
Like allegedly.
Yeah.
Like that's okay. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just the truth of the matter is, listen, you know, and the truth of the matter is this, is that the overwhelming majority of the American people across the political spectrum want all of this information released. Okay?
Yep.
And and our president claimed he said he was going to release it, but I guess he's an idiot, and it just now just occurred to him, hey, I might be on this list. Maybe I shouldn't release it. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day here, I think there needs to be a lot of transparency in this situation,
Mm-hmm.
and you know,
And like
and
to me,
there just needs to
it's
be
all
light
smoke and
brought
mirrors
to
too.
this.
Because like I don't know, a lot of people on the right lose a lot of morality, just because like one, like I feel like they kind of use this as, um, this I don't know, kind of like this is shield for issues that they actually have, because a lot of times it is on the right. But what I'm trying to say is like they've already made excuses for Trump already. There's some people that said if he was on the list, they don't care. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like even if he releases a list, he's on it. Like half of his, maybe more than half of his supporters might just be like, okay, we don't care. They didn't care before, why would they care now? So like that's why I say they lose it in terms of like morality, because like then why are you saying, oh, well then we care about predators to young women? You know what I mean? So like you can't say that, because like you have to attack everyone. And like I've had a lot of talks with, and I agree with this. Even if people like, and I've seen people say this, like, oh, if you do business, if they people who did, there's people on the list who only did business, like we talked about, they should still be treated just as best as, like, not just as bad, but like they should be treated badly too, because they were content with it. There's no way you don't know that's not going on, in my opinion. So I don't know. That's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, it's one of those situations, you know, where there's such um public interest in a case like this,
Mm-hmm.
where um that level of transparency may be very beneficial, to the victims, um to a large variety of people. Of course, Epstein's dead. You know what I mean? But people
Mm-hmm.
still want answers. People still need
Mm-hmm.
closures in their life here. Now, of course, all of this, any sort of system of releasing information, of course, there's probably going to have to be redactions. If like
Mm-hmm.
if there, I'm just making this up here.
Mm-hmm.
But if there's a, I don't know, let's say some person delivered um some grass seed to the island, or some non crazy thing, and they just dropped it off and they left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all they did. Like essentially like an Amazon delivery person. Like, of
Yeah.
course, you would redact that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But like just generally
But
speaking,
like that's the
you
problem
know,
too. Like Pam Bonnie's like, I have it on my desk, and then she's like, oh, well, it's RCP, I can't release it. Like that's just like, and that's why people got mad too, more mad, because that's not what we were asking for. You know what I mean? It's not hard to be like, oh, we're not showing this. It's like you could help victims without showing victims. So the people that did stuff to the victims, show records, show anything that was left behind. Like you can edit it, redact it, all you want. But go on.
yeah. It's just a crazy situation, and I don't understand why um you know the president even offered to release this in the first place, if he never intended to do so.
Agreed. And I can't wait to see how much of a hole he digs himself. We'll keep talking about it probably every couple episodes, every third episode. We'll see. We'll go into a national news topic one. Once again, if you're enjoying the content, drop a like. Even if you're watching the VOD, helps us out, helps us get us out there with the YouTube algorithm. Our national news topic one is how the U.S. said it destroyed about 500 metric tons of expired food aid, but it won't affect future distribution. 500 tons of high energy biscuits intended as emergency food aid and stored in a Dubai warehouse were destroyed after expiring. of material accounted for less than 1% of the approximate 1 million metric tons of U.S. annual food aid, and a lot of it's going. I guess if it's Dubai, could put some in the Middle East, probably put it all over the world. The U.S. State Department emphasized that the destruction won't affect broader future aid distributions. Though long-term aid levels under the Trump administration remain uncertain, with cuts and talking about removing U.S. What is it? USAID or whatever, U.S. aid.
Yeah, yep. U.S. Yeah.
But food consisted of high-energy biscuits used to feed children in crisis situations. That makes sense. If you have any type of even natural disaster, you don't really have the food you had before. You can't really turn on your gas stove if there's no gas line outside of your house. So a lot of times, in emergency situations, of people that go out there from like Red Cross and stuff like that will pass out certain food that you don't have to eat a lot of because it's kind of hard to eat all the time, especially if you're moving around in a disaster situation. The destruction decision has drawn criticism through congressional Democrats who argue that the administration is neglecting humanitarian responsibilities amid a global hunger crisis. That is true because we got good logistics that we could just send it to people before it expires. Kind of like what everyone's grandma used to say: is starving people somewhere. I can't deliver it to them, but if I was the U.S. government with a bunch of C-130s, I could. Senator Jeanne Shaheen secured a commitment from Deputy Secretary Michael Riggs to audit existing food stockpiles and prioritize distributing aid before it expires, kind of like we were just talking about. Additional at-risk supplies include stockpiles in Houston and Djibouti, which may expire if not properly deployed. Which I'm fine with. That makes sense. If it answers destroying it, why not spend a little bit of money to help more people out? That's kind of the whole program. If you could have that in your budget, that would be great. Too. You know what I mean? Because if logistically you can make sense. We got computers. We got Microsoft Excel. Put all the food in. When will it expire? When can we get a bunch of it out at one point? And then we'll see if we can get the fit that in our budget. These cuts and robotic freezes on USAID operations reflect a shift under Trump's American First foreign aid policy, raising concerns about worsening global hunger. However, this is how I feel. The whole America First thing's a scam, and I'm seeing this personally. I had a coworker today who's a city engineer for a lot of cities in Northeast Ohio say that and basically tell council in Lordstown to basically make sure you apply for state funding because we're not seeing anything coming in from the feds, and we probably won't for the next couple of years. And state funding might dry up, but we're lucky in Ohio that we passed I don't know like issue 2 or whatever it was. Tommy would know, or one of the House bills for we voted on it, so it wouldn't have been a House bill for OPWC and for bonds for that, so that really helps out states. The states are smart too. When they know that the feds aren't going to spend us enough money, they'll try to make sure that they spend a little bit more money towards transportation. And Ohio's lucky. We're a good state that we have a lot of transportation in it, a lot of cars driving around through the turnpike, and they all buy gas, and all that gas money goes back into transportation through taxes. But like I said before, the whole American First thing is just a scam because we're not putting money into infrastructure like we used to, or even wanted to under Build Back Better. We're seeing cuts just everywhere for the even Americans back home. VA had to fire a bunch of people. Department of Education firing. So I don't know how it's American First. It's really just billionaires first, and that's really what a lot of the Democrats should be calling it, because that's what it is. It's putting the rich first and the middle class and lower class dead last. How do you feel about this, Tommy?
So I'm glad you mentioned logistics in your little intro to this. So if we're talking about the U.S. military here, what makes the U.S. military the strongest fighting force in the history of the human race? It's not nuclear weapons. It's not rifles. It's not bombs. It's logistics. The United States of America is unique in the respect of that we can project power anywhere in the world with significant numbers. Okay? That is something that the People's Republic of China cannot do. That is something the Russian Federation cannot do. And if those two can't do it, none of the other nations are even worth me talking about. Okay? So, when you have a situation like this, where you have 500 metric tons of high energy biscuits that are designed for starving children around the world. This represents a conscious choice by the Trump administration or negligence to not distribute this food aid that, I will remind you, has already been paid for. Okay?
Yeah. True.
The United States, with relative ease, could transport 500 metric tons of high energy biscuits to anywhere on the globe. Okay? This is not hard for us to do. But we chose not to do it because we are living in an era of the politics of cruelty, where the government right now is not looking to enrich the lives of all of its citizens. It's looking to enrich the lives of a select few at the expense of the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that sort of politics of just like hate and not serving the people, it is in many ways, it shows itself internationally through actions like this. Like, the United States, we're trying to project ourselves as we're cruel, like Donald Trump's trying to almost project like we're cruel almost. You know what I mean? Like we're America first. We only care about our people, and by the way, not even all of our people, just a select few of our people.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't even care about most of our own people, how do you think Donald Trump cares about some starving kids halfway around the world? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're living in this era of just politics by cruelty. I think he made a conscious choice not to distribute this aid. And it's just also very hypocritical. It's hypocritical in the respect of, what happens at the Department of Government Efficiency? I think it's
that's very wasteful spending there.
To literally let food rot. You know what I mean? Can you think of anything more wasteful than rotting food?
Especially biscuits that are made for emergencies. That probably had an 8-year storage life. Shelf life, and they let it expire. So.
Yeah, rotting food for starving children. That's where we are right now in the United States, even though we could have very easily packed that shit up on a plane and send it off to where it was needed. And it wouldn't have cost the United States taxpayer very much. Yep. In fact, the food was already paid for. So,
and we're seeing it locally too, because with the cuts to school funding for feds, a lot of that funds school programs for food. So
exactly,
there'll be poor kids that won't have food in America as well.
Yeah, and the cost of funding a program like universal free lunches is not a significant amount of money for the state or the federal government.
But if I was president, I would have that in a Lockheed Martin contract. But hey, you want money? you want money, Lockheed Martin? You want for new F-35s? You have to fund this, and they would probably say yes. Come on now, Tommy, billions of dollars? Heck yeah, they would say yes.
I'm grinning because there's at least a 50% chance you're correct. That's why I'm grinning. Yeah.
But man, it's crazy how these politicians are. They're just making money and not caring about people really at all.
Right.
So.
This is particularly bad though. Like not distributing food for starving children. I'm laughing because it's just so incredibly bad. It's just so stupid.
How many military bases we have around the world, and places that we've abused and, took resources from or just policed. So, I mean, come on now. There's areas we could help out still. So, are you ready to go into local topic 1?
Yeah, so this will be a quick one. So, last week we talked a little bit about the state budget. We talked about the efforts of hardline Republicans in the General Assembly to their effort to overrule some of Governor Mike DeWine's vetoes as it regards to school funding. So, what happened? So on Monday, that's today, this is breaking. The Ohio House of Representatives voted 61-28 to override one of Governor Mike DeWine's vetoes, specifically veto item 66, which was related to restrictions on school district property tax levies. So, veto item 66, what it did, it prohibited schools from placing fixed sum emergency levy subsidies, fixed sum emergency levies, substitute emergency levies, or combined income/property tax levies on the ballot. So the governor vetoed that, and the legislature then overruled his veto. So now that is now in the law. So the Republicans overrode it. So GOP lawmakers led by House Speaker Matt Huffman and Representative David Thomas argued that the override was necessary to provide immediate property tax relief to homeowners facing steep levy-induced hikes, while opposition, including Democrats, teachers unions, anybody that generally cares about public education, they're very concerned that this sort of change will create a destabilizing cycle and will hurt school budgets. It will hurt our students, etc. The good news is that 2 additional school-related budget vetoes on various levies that included in creating 2 school-related vetoes on including various levies in the 20 mil floor calculation and giving County Budget Commission the authority to reduce funds. Those failed to garner sufficient support in the legislature, which is that you need a significant number to overrule a governor's veto. So that is good that they did not have the support to overrule these 2, but they did overrule the one. So of course, Governor Mike DeWine, he's just like, yeah, this is you can do this if you want to. Like, that's your constitutional right to do so. So yeah. Governor DeWine, he's currently trying to, he's trying to hedge. He's trying to slow things down when it comes to this so-called property tax reform. Mm-hmm. He's trying to create like this independent commission, but the legislature is just not having it. They're like, it's not enough time for committees. We're going to take these extreme acts that are going to hurt Ohio students. So overall, it's incredibly. I'm very concerned about the veto item that was overturned, yeah. But there is some positive aspects in this news story that those 2 other items were not overturned.
And that's good to see, but it's still bad about the levies. And I think that it's interesting that how many times the state house just tries to go against what people vote on. Like do we run a democracy based on what people don't vote now? You know what I mean? Should it be the opposite? Because I don't know if this was true, but I thought there's people that believe that, maybe it's true. A lot of the founding fathers thought a lot of the common folk were too ignorant to, run a government or, a lot of stuff. But, I personally don't believe that. So, why is it that anytime, if, let's say, a community votes to, new school buses, votes a levy to make sure they still have special needs education as a county or, for a school, or even if they need money because they need it or they're going to have to close and then people go to another school. That's that community voting. A lot of times, sometimes levies don't go. So for levies that voted no, do we now put those in? It's opposite day? A lot of the times a government, especially the Ohio government, would be more efficient if they were focusing on, okay, this is what the people voted for. Let's be okay with it. That's a democracy. And then let's focus on how we can help that and actually how we can help the state.
The founding chant of the American Revolution was no taxation without representation. Okay, mm-hmm. The United States was not formed on an anti-tax basis. It was formed upon an anti-tax basis under a system of non-representation of a king that's 3,000 miles away across the Atlantic Ocean. Mm-hmm. What you're dealing here locally with local property tax issues, it doesn't even involve it doesn't even involve representatives. It's actually direct democracy. You know what I mean? It's like you vote. So I'm glad you said that, Liam, because that's a good point. Because there is this conversation of the people voted that they were okay paying this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So um,
And listen, I get it. You can call it a relief, and a lot of this might be because there's so many people down on their mortgage payments right now because they're paying 7% and it can't do it anymore with how the economy's going. But when you buy a house, you could do the research. You know about local levies that were passed. You know tax rates for schools. You know that. You could, any
right.
realtor will tell you it. You like for websites, the apps tell you it now. So like you understand what you're going into. You know what I mean? A lot of the times, property tax, this is on your mortgage. So, like, I do understand that people are like, oh, why is my mortgage going up if I have a flat rate? Well, if if levies take effect next year and your property taxes go up and that goes back into your mortgage, well, you're getting hit for that. That's why it's always so always smart, little financial advice to pay over your mortgage by points when you can, so that when the next year, if your mortgage needs to go up for property taxes, you could use your points to get some points off, literally off of your rate, and then you could also, as well, if if you pay over, that helps you out for later on paying out for your principal. But like, it's just done that like with all the other stuff we talked about, people wanting to eliminate property tax as a whole, don't understand it. You know what I mean? Like, if you feel that way, and this is just me, go live in a township, go in a place with very small property tax or no property tax. There's areas of no property tax. You're just gonna get destroyed by business and industry. Your streets are gonna be worse because there's always gonna be heavy trucks driving in them, or there's a lot of people driving in them, like Boardman. A lot of cars, and then there's always construction because you always have to fix the roads for getting driven on. There's always expansion. You know what I mean? So like, there's always negatives to things. You get less for less you pay. You know what I mean? And like everything balances out. Being a civil engineer, being doing this for a couple years, I have a lot of coworkers at my new job that have had wells for 40 years. For maintenance of a well is for the same price as water, paying water from anywhere. Unless you have a crazy high water rate, it's the same. And if people that don't tell you that, they don't know what they're talking about. And I really hope they're going to understand that, oh man, when I have to replace this filter every 6 months, I mean, we'll have to get a whole new water filtration system every couple years. We'll have to get a water softener system. And have to do all this stuff. I have to buy a new pump every 5 years. Or if you may, hopefully you're smart and you could just replace the impeller on the pump. But, not everyone knows even what that is. So, like, there's a lot that goes into
I don't know
it.
what that is.
Yeah, it's like for a little, like, propeller on a ship, but inside a pump. Inside
Yeah,
of a little
okay.
thing, propeller,
Okay.
impeller is what they call them. But, like, there's a lot of things that, like, prices even out. You know what I mean? If you have a septic system and you want to be a lazy American and only have your septic system checked every 5 years, good luck. If you're putting baby wipes in that septic system, it's gonna overflow. It's gonna get stuck, and then you gotta buy a new one. That's 10 grand. So like, it's just, there's always maintenance to everything. Sometimes people want to put that on the city. Let them do it if they understand that. Like, they need more money for a bigger school. Certain things are happening. New programs coming out to help like better the school. Why not? Um, so we need to keep pushing that. Um, are you going to go to our next topic, or do you have any other info on this?
Yeah, yeah. I agree with what you're saying. It's just I think you ended it quite well. Just generally speaking, we need to have a robust funding for our public schools. I think it's a mandatory thing that us as a society we need to do.
Yeah.
Even if we don't have children ourselves, it's incumbent upon us to have an educated population that can then go on and make the world a better place. So that's all I wanted to say
No, I
about
agree. Like
that.
I've always voted for these too, and I don't have kids. A
Yeah,
lot of times I like
exactly,
the liberals and Democrats because we think of other people besides ourselves. We get that we'll be there one
exactly.
day, and like something too that it's like you have to because like a lot of people like have a control thing that like, oh, I could teach my kids everything. I'm an engineer, and I couldn't even homeschool my kids. I could teach them math and
Yeah,
engineering, but like that's not a proper all around like education. At least what I got. And there's things in
yeah.
school that no parent could teach. I mean? No parent could teach robotics. They don't have the money for that. If you're a millionaire, then yeah, but then like you're not the average person talking about homeschooling. If your average person talking about homeschooling has an average education, and then their kids also are gonna lack from like the advancements in education because that parent teaches what they know, and what they know was from, let's say, once we have kids, 10, 20 years in the back. So it's it's not fair to a kid either. They're getting a stunt education. They're having like a worse social, experience. Like schools are definitely better to have, in my opinion. Just
I
sports,
agree with you.
competitions like robotics. There's a bunch of other stuff they could be doing. Debate, theater. So, what's our national news
I
topic
agree with
too?
that. Yeah, so national news topic two. So Trump administration shuts down EPA scientific research arm. So I saw this the other day. And you always know it's a bad news notification when you get a news notification from the New York Times at 11 at night. Because that's
Yep.
when they're trying to like get stuff under the news cycle.
Mm.
Ugh. Okay, so EPA is shutting down its Office of Research and Development, which conducts scientific research on environmental hazards. Sounds really smart. The closure is part of a broader 23% staff reduction at the EPA, aiming to save $748.8 million. That's nothing. That's nothing. $748 million, like for scientific research for the environment. Come
Yeah, and like the
on.
EPA makes good money. People don't realize that either. Like you permits you pay for is all I'm gonna say about that. So they make good money.
EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who's an asshole, says the move is to improve efficiency and focus on the agency's core mission. So I guess he thinks the agency's core mission is, promoting fossil fuels and denying climate change, stuff like that. So, um, a new Office of Applied Science and Environmental Solutions will be created to integrate science into rulemaking. Because, the big fossil fuel execs who buy Lee Zeldin, those are the type of people that you want conducting your scientific research, and those are the type of people that you want creating your environmental regulations. Like, it works so good for cigarettes.
That's
You
what
know
I
what
was
I
about
mean?
to
Like,
say, Tommy. Like if this was made in the 50s and this wasn't the EPA, this was, the Surgeon General's office, and they said we're not going to do further research. We're just going to believe what we know now, and that's it. Then yeah, cigarettes don't cause
yeah.
cancer. Shit. That's crazy. But like obviously they knew they were lying. They did research and they found out, oh wow, they cause cancer. So like that's the thing. Like applied science and environmental solutions is a little bit different. And like the thing about like integrate science, they were integrating science before because like research and development's the same thing. Research is like finding out new reasons to do things, finding out what is out there. Development's going through that like process of theory and figuring out, oh, does it work or not. That whole process of engineering science, the scientific method. But I'll let you finish up before I get my more input on that.
Yeah. And they did the same thing. ExxonMobil knew that climate change was caused by human in the 1980s, and they lied about it. Like, okay. So, but anyway, so there's some expected layoffs. Advocacy groups are warning that the cuts will cripple the EPA's ability to use and conduct scientific research. And the EPA workforce has been reduced from 16,155 to 12,448 since January. Agency also eliminated its environmental justice and DEI offices as part of broader restructuring. So listen, this is a classic move in government. Okay, you have a governmental aid, you're a Republican, you don't like the EPA. It's a lot harder to get rid of the EPA than it is just to put someone in charge of it who fundamentally disagrees with the EPA. Like
Yeah.
it's like putting Snoop Dogg as head of the DEA. You know what I mean? Like you can't get rid of the DEA, but you can put Snoop Dogg in head of the DEA. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
so listen, this news story, we're living in an era right now of incredibly negative news. And this one was particularly hard on me to read for a couple reasons. Number one, cutting research is like the worst thing you can do. Okay? Cutting research into medicine, environmental issues, into anything that needs to be studied, anything that needs to be improved upon to improve the human condition. If you're not actively researching, you're not actively contributing to the broader library of science, of philosophy, of all these different things,
Mm-hmm.
that's just incredibly bad. Okay,
And
that's number
most
one.
research has a great return on investment. So Republicans that talk
Yeah,
about money and they don't, they're dumb. They would rather have something that's not planned and not well researched and say, oh, this is a good plan, this is a good idea. No, you need good
Right.
research, you need good planning, and a lot of this like helps our GDP. It helps us as a country. If we lack in research, other countries that have already, because like other countries that don't have this issue in politics up and down, left and right. South Korea,
And
Japan is what I'm saying. Like they're better at tech, So countries that were better, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, how do we get passed up? It's all about research.
and as someone, if you work in government, okay, your job, if you work in government, you're not two things. You're not an activist and you're not a scientist. Okay? You work in government because you're trying to pass legislation. Okay? But you need both scientists and you need activists. You need activists to increase public support so you can pass legislation that protects people. Okay? You
Mm-hmm.
need scientists so you can become aware you need scientists so you can become aware of issues that you do not understand, so then you can then create legislation to stop them, like climate change. You know what I mean? I'm a smart guy. I'm in the top 3% of educated people in the world. I don't know shit about climate change. Like, I know it exists, I know it's real, I know it's human caused,
Mm-hmm.
but and I know like melting ice caps. I know what I've been told by people who are more qualified than myself to talk about climate change, and I believe them,
Yeah.
and I want to solve the issue. But if I never knew about the issue, no action would ever be taken. So that's why it's so incredibly harmful to cut research. Okay.
It does. Yeah.
Um.
Agreed. And
And
like
then
I see it personally at work. Like this new EPA, they're slower. You know what I mean? They're less. You could tell they're more business oriented. Is all I'll say about that.
yeah,
And it's sad because we do have to help out communities still. You know what I mean? There's things going on that I've seen it. I can't say about specific things, but basically they're allowing certain companies to test their own runoff water, stormwater discharge. Basically, they're allowing the owner to be called. They're allowing the owner to be the operator. Which the operator at this point is what tests everything and makes sure. Like me and Tommy were talking about this. Like that's very unethical because you can't really trust an owner, especially when their job is to make money with fiduciaries and all that stuff with their boards and all their investors. Um, to sometimes be truthful. And we're seeing that now. It doesn't even matter left or right, like I was saying, up or down, because we're seeing it. You can look it up with East Palestine and the Ohio EPA. They're finding out that they had emails and they've had prior talks, communications that hey, we're not going to test for these 6 chemicals because we know, well, we're most likely going to find them and they're most likely going to be bad. So if we don't test for these chemicals, the outcome will be less bad. And a lot of this was Norfolk Southern EPA. It's all about business. And like Tommy was saying, the head of the EPA is big business. If anyone's a kid, a Gen X, Gen Z, you watch the Simpsons movie, and like, okay, that head of EPA obviously was probably right wing. Let's be honest here. That's a good movie, but like that guy was also a little crazy, a little authoritarian. Um, you can never trust a company to be truthful. Like if we trusted Norfolk Southern to do all their own testing, that's not truthful. So we kind of already know that we can't trust certain agencies in the government, and a lot of times it's because at the top, all these big people. If you make the head someone who's the head of Exxon before, the head of the EPA, are they going to be good for the environment? And it's crazy to me because like if I was president, I would probably be the first president who made like a park ranger the head of the EPA, like someone who worked in like actually for the EPA for a long time or in some type of environmental aspect in America for a long time ahead of the EPA, and it makes no sense. You know what I mean? Sometimes, like Tom was saying, you don't want if you don't want a agency to be efficient, put someone in there that don't like them, and maybe he's not good at being efficient. So like these people don't really understand what they're talking about sometimes if they really feel that way, and this really affects communities. Sometimes this runoff we're seeing with East Palestine or chemicals in their water affects, farmers. We've seen with DuPont in the past in West Virginia. really affect people, kill people, and really affect their livelihood with cows and other livestock. Especially in America, we kind of put that as number one. We put our own personal freedoms as number one. So if I have land and has a stream going through it, and a new industry down the street is doing stuff, and putting bad chemicals in it, that's not really fair, and that could affect my livelihood, affect my farm or animals. That's not really fair to me. And like I said, like I see that work a lot in certain areas with like new industries coming in that like have special privileges because they're such big industries and they help out the community so much. They're just like screw the actual community it's in because it's gonna help the whole state, and that's not really fair or right. You do have to go through proper procedure, at least to me, for everything. Especially being an engineer, if I was, if you live in a city, even a township, and you have to go to zoning to put up a fence, but then the big corporation could just step all over the zoning board and say, your opinions don't matter. How is that fair? If they're living next to me or living down the road, we have to, certain regulations do matter, especially with the EPA. So that's my 2 cents on it.
You know, another thing I agree with what you're saying 100%, Liam. The only thing I wanted to add upon what you're saying is why this news story was so bad is not just its current effects, which you were just talking about, how it's going to hurt communities and stuff like that. What makes this even worse is it's going to take a very long time to fix. This is not a situation where, Donald Trump's not president. We got a Democratic president, and it's just fixed. So these career scientists, these career civil servants, they go through a hiring process, background checks, security clearances. You already have to have a very, very high level of education to be an EPA scientist, I imagine. There's not a lot of these people probably around that have those skills to effectively research environmental stuff at that level. I truly don't know.
And a lot of it too, Tommy, is like, how could you say you're pro health? Because like a lot of this, like let's say they ban all this natural food dyes they feel like is bad, not natural, man-made stuff. I mean, it was natural, then man-made. All the solutions are man-made things that we still engineer. It's not like it's overly. It's the same thing. But if you eliminate research, you never know what these companies are making now, and then they're hurting the people. So
exactly,
like people that are ignorant don't get that, but they need to get it.
Exactly. The work that these scientists do, it affects them. It affects people day to day. Obviously, climate change. It's something that we're seeing right now. Extreme. Heats. Right now, we're experiencing we had crazy windstorms this year, like rainstorms.
Yeah, here's a good way to put it. And like I get,
100 year.
That's what I was going to talk about. Like, as people that don't get,
floods are happening every year.
don't people that don't get like engineering or like actual like climate change as a whole. Sometimes it's just numbers. So like here where we're at, we've had 6 500-year storms since 2018. That's in 6 years, actually 7 years now. But if we're having a 500-year storm every 2 years, something's wrong, and that's climate change, because what we're saying is these rain levels are unheard of. Because it's when you say, okay, something's a 50-year storm, 100-year storm, 500, 1,000. Like we've had 2 1,000-year storms. That's 2 hurricanes in Ohio in the last couple years. That means that like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when they started this rainfall data, started this measurement, they said, okay, this rain happens every 50 years. You know what I mean? Because if you measure rainfall within a year, you could calculate, okay, this is how much we get in a year. We can know how much is a major storm in 50 years, times it by 50, times it by 100, times it by 500, times it by 1,000. You know what I mean? But if we're getting all this rainstorm all the time, it shows the climate is changing in Ohio. You know what I mean? It's unheard of levels. So, like Tommy was saying, exactly. It's something that like does affect us. Like we do need to worry about it. Like. And obviously, we see with certain things, we're safe here in Ohio, but like that doesn't mean that like our climate's not going to change. Our winters will be less. It'll get hotter here. And people like me that are white, and I do like the winters, I don't like it being hot all the time. I'm going to be more tan and salty about it. And it's going to happen more recent than we expected. You know what I mean? Like we've had this issue, like Tommy said, since the '80s. They were doing that testing in the '70s for ExxonMobil did, and so it's been almost
Hmm.
over 50 years now, and they've just been hiding it. Any more input before we go into our
It
last
just sucks.
topic?
No, that's pretty much everything. It's going to cause a lot of pain. It's going to take a long time to fix up.
It is. Yeah, and like once again, like they're definitely not pro America, America first. If they were, they would protect America first, and they're not make America healthy again. Because if you were, you would want to make sure you protect and make sure we stay healthy. Once again, we've seen this in Europe, and I've said this, been preaching this. You could ban all these things that you feel like's bad, petroleum-based stuff. They will find another way. You know what I mean? These companies will always find a cheaper way. So like once again, and what's crazy is they'll say it's naturally derived. So is petroleum technically. Like so like you have to like that's a problem. You have to understand chemistry. You have to understand organic and inorganic chemistry to a certain extent, environmental chemistry, how it reacts with all this stuff to get this. So like Tommy's saying, when you go to court, you don't want to represent yourself because you know you're gonna fail. You get a lawyer. If you were building a house, you'd get a contractor. So if you're dealing with science, you get a scientist. So we need to research this stuff. Um,
Exactly.
then we'll go
Exactly.
into our local topic number 2, our last topic of the night. Hope you enjoyed watching. And make sure to drop a like if you enjoy. On YouTube, we have a Facebook below in our description. Follow us and share on social medias as well. It's about our reflections upon Good Trouble in the Trumbull County protest. What a good what's it about? It was a peaceful, Good Trouble protest rally named after John Lewis's motto. Took place in Courthouse Square in Warren on Saturday morning. About 100 people participated, holding signs, chanting, "This is what democracy looks like," and enjoying supportive car honks. The Tribune posted this about today. The people who organized it were the members of Good Trouble Trumbull. The goal was to raise visibility and defend constitutional rights, with organizers warning that the Trump administration and Republicans are attempting to strip rights from all people, not just minorities. The context of this event followed a 300-person vigil and march held earlier in Youngstown on Thursday. Oh my God, my words. 1 second. Commemorating the 5th anniversary of John Lewis's passing in 2020 and carrying forward his legacy of necessary trouble. Once again, and like if you know philosophy, if you know history, Malcolm X, um, with his like you do have to go at him like that kind of be necessary trouble if it would be more relaxed. With Martin Luther King, like we talked about earlier, definitely good to see everyone protesting for what they believe in. Everything with ICE, and even with like the EPA, we could tie into that. We have certain constitutional rights for, to the pursuit of happiness. And I personally feel like if all Americans are dying at 40 because of cancer, we're not really giving them a true pursuit of happiness. So there's a lot more probably into that as well. Certain other stuff that we have. But it's good to see. Me and Tommy were there. It was awesome. I was happy to see young people, old people, and that's what I love about a lot of these protests. There's people all over the age range going to these things. So that's good to see older people, elderly people. It all depends. Young kids, babies, people bring their kids. People being animals. So it's good to see. And if everything going on right now, like I said with ICE, we kind of need to keep doing it. We need to make sure courts stay strong too, and know that if people actually don't want this, we want actually to, keep going against it. It's kind of hard though with the Senate and the House, everything going right now, passing Trump's big beautiful bill. That does help ICE a little bit more in Homeland Security, push his agenda. So, what you think, Tommy?
It was a great event. I'm right there with you. I enjoy seeing, the different the different variety of people there, different the issues people care about. It truly is great to see. And it was a great event. I've just briefly I was last week I watched this it was about an hour and a half interview with President Barack Obama, who was talking about John Lewis and was talking about Bloody Sunday and Selma and all that stuff. And President Obama, I think, said something that I think is incredibly on point, and I just like to share. So when you think about Bloody Sunday, you had the peaceful protesters demanding that their civil rights, demanding that their civil rights, demanding that they have the right to vote, to be treated equally, to sit at the same areas as white people can. You had this group of people, African Americans, who were demanding justice, okay, and they were doing so peacefully. And on the other side of the bridge, you had the police. You had the police dogs. You had the riot police, the batons, people on horseback. And as you all know, what happened on Bloody Sunday was the protesters, including John Lewis and Martin Luther King Jr., walked across the bridge and got beat. And in a way, what the president was saying and what I wanted to share is in many respects that image of the bridge and the conflict on the bridge represents both the worst part of America and the best part of America. The worst part of America, meaning the America that some see as only being for certain people and excluding other people. That is represented by the police on the bridge with the dogs and all of that. But on the other side of the bridge, you had Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis, who represent a different idea of America, who represent an idea of we are a common people brought together not by race or religion, but based on a common idea of individual rights, of individual liberty, of mutual respect, and love for each other.
And that a constitution was true, that all men are created equal,
and
no matter the color.
Correct. And to be clear, we never have lived up to that idea, but it's an idea worth fighting for. Agreed. And where we are today here in 2025 is, in many respects, the bridge, Bloody Sunday, represents where we are today. And we have to keep pushing forward for justice, for love, for all of these things, even though it will cause us tremendous hardship. But we have to do it because we want this country to be better and to be accepting, and to reject that idea represented by the police dogs that America is only for white people. We have to reject that, and we have to keep moving forward. So that's what I was thinking about when I was out there protesting the Trump administration in honor of John Lewis.
Yep. Especially like you're saying, with the Constitution. Because you have to defend for what's right. You know what I mean? If they're going after it, don't matter any minorities right now and not treating them fairly. There's so many more horror stories coming out with ICE and everything.
Right.
So, it's just...
and to be clear, this what we're dealing with today, of course it affects minorities disproportionately. Absolutely. I don't deny that. 100% it does. But to my white friends, okay, it can happen to you too. These sorts of principles, these due process principles, you get to go before a judge. They protect everybody. It's just, we got to keep fighting for justice, for the idea of America, the good idea of America.
Yep.
And
agreed.
We just got to keep pushing forward.
Agreed. For civil rights, civil liberties, everything that we're truly supposed to be given in this beautiful
country.
Donate
to the ACLU.
That's what you should be doing right now, yeah. Once again, that was our last topic.
I do.
Do you have any more input before we get going? I think there's another protest happening this weekend as well, so keep it up. We kind of saw that this administration's not doing what we feel is personally right, so...
Thank you, everybody, for listening. It was good to be on the show today. And sorry, did I go before you, Liam? Did I cut?
Oh, you're good.
You ready to end?
No, yeah, we could end. Yeah. Once again, it was episode 20. I was happy everyone was here to join. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. We're gonna be getting going. Had a little bit longer one today, but a lot of topics started a little bit late. little bit of technical difficulties. Thank you for staying tuned and staying on with us.